smoking some of the best dope God ever put breath in.
Woo! Thank God it's Friday!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Young Turks, the big Friday episode. Cenk is out, obviously that should be pretty clear by now, but I'm here, Johnny Rolla, and of course, Jordan Ewell. Jordan, how's it going?
It's going great, John. You look sharp today.
I think I felt pretty sharp, but now I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, I'm liking the way you're looking right now, actually. You look professional.
Thanks,
and comfortable, sporty.
Yeah.
I like
it's
it.
Casual. It's Friday. You gotta loosen up a little bit.
I'm gonna see, can I get that hat delivered in the next 45 minutes? Let's see. But anyway, hey everybody, and thank you for being here. We have a lot to talk about. You're gonna be shocked to find out that we're gonna be speaking about immigration and ICE and Minnesota. We have other stuff too, but that's obviously the big story of the week, the big story so far of this year, which is saying something considering we removed the leader of a sovereign country. But anyway, we'll have all of that. We're gonna talk a little bit about one of the wars that might or might not resume as we enter into the weekend. Perhaps Jordan and I could both make our predictions about the situation in Iran. But in advance of all that, definitely do all the stuff that you do on whatever platform you're on. Like it, send us your comments. Jordan and I will be responding to your super chats and tweets and all that as we go about this thing. But with all that, Jordan, would you like to talk about what's going on in Minnesota?
I don't know if I would like to, but I understand the need to.
Yes. Are you willing to? Okay.
I'm willing to.
Well, I am too. So with that, why don't we jump into it? New details as well as new reporting have emerged about the murder of Renee Good in Minnesota by ICE agent Jonathan Ross. That not only was a horrendous act in its own right, but also sparked massive protests that continue until today. Ever since the shooting, as I'm sure you're well aware, the administration as well as MAGA pundits have tried their best to paint Ross as the actual victim, saying that he shot her in self-defense, that he was run over by her car. CBS News even somewhat recently ran a story saying that he suffered internal bleeding. And so they said, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent who fatally shot Renee Good last week in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident, according to 2 US officials briefed on his medical condition. It was unclear how extensive the bleeding was. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed Ross's injury, but has not yet responded to CBS News's requests for more information. And that's CBS they're denying more information for, which almost certainly would have spun it in a positive way for them. But anyway, we know from the videos and from the early reporting eyewitness accounts that he was able to walk away from the incident. He seemed perfectly fine. Details about what the supposed internal bleeding are there's basically nothing at this point. And obviously he did not get run over. The word over has a meaning if anybody wants to look it up. But anyway, we do have this new frame by frame analysis of the shooting. Why don't we dive into that?
Will likely emerge, but the currently available visual evidence still shows no indication Agent Jonathan Ross got run over. We can see the agent's foot sliding, his hand bracing against the SUV, and his arm getting pressed into his chest. It is impossible to determine if this is happening because of the SUV's movement or the icy asphalt, or more likely, both. And what's very unclear because of the limited quality and availability of footage is whether the agent's upper body gets swiped by the vehicle as his left foot slides back. This moment is when Agent Ross fires. We see the other agent pull back from the SUV. Both of them stumble, apparently slipping on the ice. This is also the moment many have said looks like Agent Ross getting run over. And it does when watched at full speed. But looking more closely, we can see in multiple angles that there's a visible gap between the vehicle and his legs. None of the bullets have the effect of stopping the SUV. But they kill Renee Good.
So that's a good analysis by the New York Times. I'm glad they did that. Again, I'm frustrated by them continuing to use run over when there's no over. There's no car over him. At most, he would maybe have been hit. That is still, as you saw in the video, very much up for dispute. But he definitely wasn't run over. And you can see when they pause for the first shot, he is fully to the side of the car when he fires that shot. He had already stepped out of the way. Arguably, he could have stepped out of the way quite faster if he had not been trying to murder her while that was happening. And so we're gonna get into more of this, including the revelation that some in CBS News still think that they should be a journalistic enterprise, and we're not happy with the basically the airing of government propaganda about the supposed internal bleeding. We'll get to that in just a bit. But Jordan, what did you make of some of these updates as well as the frame by frame?
I mean, why are we just hearing now about this internal bleeding claim? It took a week for them to realize that. As we'll see medical experts cast doubt on that. You can look at the footage. I think the problem for me is that we are being browbeaten by this administration into accepting their narrative. And their narrative squarely puts the blame on Renee Good, a dead woman. They have demonized her. They have attacked her character. We're seeing attempts to investigate her widow.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? It is so easy for any responsible administration or government figure to just say, look, we're going to take a closer look. We're going to investigate. We're going to review all of the evidence and we'll make a determination. They don't want to do that. They are unwilling to analyze, to investigate, to examine any further. They made up their mind moments after she died. This woman was a terrorist and it's her fault. And that officer did nothing wrong, or that agent did nothing wrong. Despite the fact that their story in their retelling of what happened was wrong. They were already sure this woman was a terrorist and it was her fault as they were getting details wrong. It shows a complete unwillingness for any accountability or transparency, and it is disgusting. It's absolutely repugnant.
Yeah. I mean, like I would say, if there has been anything truly consistent in this administration, in this movement, it is the unwillingness to ever take responsibility for what you've done or any mistakes that you've made. I don't know that I can point to a single time that Donald Trump has done that. And I know that he will not accept it by those in his administration. You do that, that could actually get you fired. Doing the sort of surge that results in someone being killed and maybe even tanks your polling. He doesn't seem to mind that so much. Being drunk on the job while you're Secretary of Defense, bombing innocent fishermen. Again, he doesn't care about that. But if you were to own up to that and take responsibility for it, admit that mistakes had been made, I have a feeling he would see that as a sign of weakness when it is the exact opposite. Now, CBS News is not formally, really saying anything about the fact that they just ran with this internal bleeding thing without any actual proof or more details beyond that very vague label. But some inside of CBS News apparently did have an issue with it. And The Guardian was able to get access to some emails making that clear. The report from CBS News was met with, quote, huge internal concern by some, one CBS News staffer said. Others viewed the conversations as standard editorial discussions. Before the original report was published, a medical producer at CBS suggested in an email to colleagues that, quote, it would be helpful to ask what type of treatment he received. In another email, an executive expressed skepticism about the broad nature of the medical diagnosis and what it actually entailed, saying, quote, I'm no doctor, but internal bleeding is a very broad term and can range in severity. A bruise is internal bleeding, but it can also be something serious. We do know that the ICE agent walked away from the incident. We have that on camera. And I am not a doctor like Dr. David Reiter is there, or that's actually CBS News senior vice president. But I will say, if it was serious, we'd have more details. If they had done scans and blood was pooling in his lungs, that would be on Jesse Waters' show tonight. You know that. And it didn't happen because he's not actually injured. You can see it in the video. We'll end though with a slightly more positive take. One other CBS News staffer says, felt to many here like we were carrying water for the admin's justifying of the shooting to keep our access to our sources. That's one reason perhaps why at CBS News you'd be carrying water for the administration. It's not the only one. Do you know where you work? Do you know what's going on there? I feel like maybe they're blocking it out because the truth is just too horrible. But anyway, there's as of yet no reason to believe the internal bleeding stuff. You just have to accept that. And I would just throw out there, like, If people still think that he was run over or he needed to do what he did, they probably can't be reached anyway. But I would ask you this question. If he had just stepped out of the way of the car and had not pulled his gun, had not shot her, what do you think would have happened? Tell me you are crazy enough to think that she was going to race down the street and then she was gonna curve the car around, then she was gonna take another pass and because she had to see him dead. Like, tell me that you are that crazy to believe that. Had he stepped to the side, he would be fine and she would have left. And that would have been the entirety of it. He wouldn't have killed her. We wouldn't have these protests. I mean, they might have still done something else horrific that would have resulted in the protests, but almost everybody would be better off. Anyway, that's my thoughts, Jordan. Before we proceed to more, tell me what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, and even before that, before she turned her wheel and tried to get away from a masked stranger aiming a gun at her, her last words to him were, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you."
Yeah.
We lost sight of that. This is from the cell phone footage that he filmed because he was on his phone the entire time. That's where that footage comes from. Of course, violating protocol, and of course, standing in front of a vehicle is violating protocol, and firing into a vehicle that's fleeing violates protocol. They don't care about that. And the other detail in that video is that when he's on the other side of the car, the passenger side, there's some words exchanged between her wife, Miss Good's wife, and this agent. He then switches his phone to his left hand before he even gets to the front of the car.
Yeah.
To me, he knew what he wanted to do and he did it.
Yeah.
And the administration is lying about it because they want her to be the victim and they want to shield all of these agents, many of whom have no or little training, zero vetting, zero background checks, as we've seen this week with the Slate piece. They're going to give him total immunity.
Yeah.
And they're lying about a victim.
100%. So look, I don't think that he was ever in any danger. I think that you're pointing out yet another reason to believe that he knew what he wanted to do. But if you believe that he was in danger, that she was trying to kill him, or even accidentally he could be run over, and if you believe that he believed that, there is a case to be made that he was willing to be run over if that meant that he could shoot her. Because he stepped in front of the car, even though he knows he's not supposed to, and even though he had been hit months prior. And even though grabbing for his gun and shooting at her did slow down his ability to step out of the way. Now he was able to step out of the way because she wasn't trying to hit him. But it kind of seemed like he cared more about shooting her than saving his own life at that moment. In any event, let's turn away from the murderer and to the murdered in this case. We know what happened to Renee Nicole Good. We know more about it now, her actual medical condition, thanks to more recent reporting. Paramedics apparently found her unresponsive in her car at 9:42 with blood on her face and torso. She was not breathing and her pulse was inconsistent and irregular, according to a report obtained through a State Data Practices Act request. She had 2 apparent gunshot wounds to the right side of her chest, 1 to the left forearm and 1 to the left side of her head. Her pupils were dilated. She had a barely perceptible pulse and blood was coming out of her left ear. While 4 gunshot wounds were noted, that doesn't necessarily mean that 4 bullets were fired, and there isn't prior evidence indicating that that's the case. It had been reported since the killing that Ross fired 3 shots, 1 low through the front windshield on the driver's side of the car, 2 through Good's open window, including the shot to the head. A single bullet can cause multiple gunshot wounds. This is the sort of thing that if the DOJ were taking this remotely seriously, we would already know exactly how many bullets were fired. That should not be up for debate, but they're not giving us information because they're trying to cover this up. Let's be clear about that. And again, shot her multiple times and then, of course, famously yelled that she was an effing bitch. That's what he said as she was dying. And this is the state that the paramedics found her in. Would she have potentially been able to be saved if ICE had not done what ICE and cops so often do, what perhaps they learned in a foreign battleground, which is don't let anyone go near the wounded. Give them a little bit of chance to potentially bleed out. Don't get involved. Maybe they just die. Simplifies the situation. I can't get into their heads. I'm not a psychic. But I know that they stopped doctors on the scene from administering help to her. So we're gonna go into, before we do final commentary, a civil probe has been launched to try to get some justice for the family, since of course the administration is going to be a block to justice in this, as it is in so many other cases like the Epstein files. And so the attorney for the Good family went on to CNN to discuss that probe.
I would love to have all the confidence in our government doing what they're supposed to do. And that's what litigants do in litigation, is preserve evidence. They don't destroy, they don't spoil anything. They store it appropriately. But because we know that we're getting stonewalled, our level of confidence decreases, and that's why we have to take the steps that we're taking. We have to conduct our own civil investigation on a so-called parallel track without any cooperation, or else we're not going to be able to get to the truth. But we don't know that we're going to get to the truth only with the federal government investigating this.
And of course, the federal government is not going to investigate it federally. I mean, what can we hope for? That the Dems take Congress and they do some sort of inquiry? It's Bonnie's still going to be in charge of the DOJ. Maybe we wait until 2028. Statute of limitations for Ross would still, theoretically it would be okay. Could be investigated then, but that is certainly at the very least justice massively delayed. Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the point that you made before that video is an important one. Those moments after she was shot were absolutely crucial. There were doctors on the scene. We saw in eyewitness videos, people standing on the sidewalk, just steps away, someone offering, I'm a doctor, I can help. Maybe they could have stopped the bleeding. She had an irregular, stopped the bleeding. She had an irregular heartbeat, but there was some pulse. Maybe she could still be with us. But like you say, easier for them if she's dead.
Yeah.
And she was there for several minutes before paramedics arrived. And also in that time he left. So it's amazing to me that this was seen and we are being told and being forced to accept that everything that happened here is by the books. If that's the book, throw it out. That's not a society I want to live in. That doesn't sound just or fair or equitable, but that's the America Donald Trump and his lackeys want us to live in.
100%. Okay, I think we can probably go on to a somewhat related topic with the time that we have. I apologize for how dark a lot of the rundown is going to be today. That is unfortunately the America in 2026. But why don't we jump into this? As if ICE's public image wasn't already so bad, and it really is. The Washington Post has new reporting that indicates that a recent death of an ICE detainee is likely going to be ruled a homicide. This is a 55-year-old Cuban ICE detainee who apparently died at a Texas detention camp back on January 3rd. And wait till you see how the story about his death has evolved over the past less than 2 weeks. So at the time of his death, the agency said, quote, staff observed him in distress and gave no cause of death. Perhaps as part of a cover-up, one might speculate, perhaps because they just don't care, because they don't see him as a human. I think all of these are compelling potential explanations. But we do have more information now. This is coming out of a recording of a call an employee from the El Paso Medical Examiner's Office made to Lunas Campos, the man who died, his daughter, this week. In the recording, the employee said a doctor there is, quote, listing the preliminary cause of death as asphyxia due to neck and chest compression, which means Lunas Campos did not get enough oxygen because of pressure on his neck and chest. Pending the results of a toxicology report, the staffer said on the recording, quote, our doctor is believing that we're going to be listing the manner of death as homicide. And witnesses there at the facility, Camp East Montana, said that he died following a struggle with detention staff. All of that, of course, basically left off of the initial reporting of his death from ICE. Santos Jesus Flores, a man who says he was detained in the segregation unit the day Lunas Campos died, said he saw at least 5 guards struggling with Lunas Campos after he refused to enter the segregation unit, complaining that he didn't have his medications. Flores says that he saw guards choking Lunas Campos and heard Lunas Campos repeatedly saying the Spanish for "I can't breathe." Medical staff tried to resuscitate him for an hour, after which they took his body away, and then the agency leaped into action, concealing the nature of his death. Now, this is what Tricia McLaughlin, the DHS Assistant Secretary, says. If you're familiar with her, you know what this will be worth. But her statement is, Campos violently resisted the security staff and continued to attempt to take his life. During the ensuing struggle, Campos stopped breathing and lost consciousness. Medical staff was immediately called and responded. After repeated attempts to resuscitate him, EMTs declared him deceased at the scene. But apparently the medical examiner disagrees with the chief propagandist at the Department of Homeland Security and plans to rule the death a homicide. And I don't know what we're supposed to believe happened, that he was trying to take his own life, and at some point he stopped breathing. Not because the staff choked him, but because an extreme act of will that he cut off the flow of oxygen to his own lungs and brain. Was he choking himself? I had always been told that that's impossible, but I don't know. DHS seems to think that that's a good explanation for what's going on. Now, if you see the right talking about this at all, and you probably won't, what they will focus on is that the guy who died wasn't a good guy. He was apparently convicted of several crimes, including assault and sexual abuse. Sexual abuse in the case of Lunas Campos is a serious thing. Donald Trump being found guilty of sexual abuse is not even worthy of discussion. Never forget that. But by the way, I saw in the initial reporting of this tweet replies, which is just, he was a bad guy. I don't think that means that federal employees can murder him. That's not the country that I grew up in. Maybe that's the country we live in right now. But this is a bit of a pattern, Jordan. More and more people dying in ICE custody. You can see this is going back to the beginning of January, and the numbers are going up over time. We've had dozens of people already who've died, 30 just last year, the highest in 2 decades. And who can possibly claim to be surprised by that? Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, this has all of the signs of yet another attempt by this administration to cover up a murder. The witnesses in that facility said that he was yelling, I don't know what volume, "I can't breathe." They want us to believe that he tried to take his own life, but then was telling everyone else that he couldn't breathe. Like, who would do that? If you're taking your own life, you're not yelling, "I'm committing suicide." No. Eyewitnesses say 5 different people were on him and choking him. They tried to kill him for whatever reason. I don't care about his past. You want to deport him for that. I understand why you would want to do that. I object to killing him on the spot. That is barbaric. And like you say, John, if the standard for killing somebody is their past and sexual assault, bad news for Trump.
Yeah, not just Trump, by the way. Can't throw a rock in the White House without hitting a sexual abuser. So I guess you do whatever you want, I suppose. It's the purge when it comes to it. I obviously don't believe that. And look, maybe more reporting will come out. Maybe I would presume they have cameras in these facilities. Maybe in a year or 18 months, we'll finally see the footage and we can know for sure what actually happened. But look, I think if you are inclined to believe that these ICE agents are the most easily triggered people in America, that absolutely lose it when anyone doesn't give them what they consider to be the proper amount of respect and react with high levels, perhaps lethal levels of violence, there is reason to believe that in recent news cycles. And so I would love more information. I'm sure the family of this man, regardless of his past, would like to know the nature of his death. But again, do you really believe that they're gonna do an actual investigation to this? Why would they? What is the incentive from their point of view? Anyway, we've got a little bit more on ICE that we'll be talking about, but we do want to take a little break. We're going to respond to some of your comments, and we'll be back after this. Welcome to the social break, everyone. Let's see what's going on out there. Pessimistic progressive says, "Thank God for the hat, so I can tell you two apart." I wanted to get my hat, but it was difficult for family reasons. I wasn't able to go back into the house. It would disrupt my daughter too much, but maybe next week. Art guy says it's the Golf brothers. John's into golf now, right? A little bit. Boomer Dragon Cat says, gonna take another no news weekend. A good bounce for now. I feel fresh to start each week after a break. Well, Boomer Dragon Cat, we will see if you are able to do a no news weekend, because I think there's gonna be big news, but we'll talk more about that later on. I Lives in America says internal bleeding on that trigger finger. Yeah, by the way, when you murder someone, are you supposed to flee the scene? go pack up your stuff. Let's say hypothetically he did flee, and then he realizes that based on social media, this is not going his way in terms of PR. Like, let's say he does have a little bit of internal bleeding. What happened during all the time he was at home? Maybe he needs to concoct a story of him being injured or something. Again, this is all speculation, but we are forced into the position of wild, baseless speculation when the Department of Justice is firmly on the side of injustice and blocking investigations. Anyway, I Lives in America says law enforcement are taught never to stand in front of a vehicle. Well, their training says that they shouldn't. He seems incapable of learning that lesson. Being hit once by a car apparently wasn't enough to teach him. If he ever goes back out on the streets, I wonder what he'll do. Anyway, Thader Goddess says John and Jordan's matching shirts show that stylization matters. John looks like he's a golf commentator and Jordan is a bowling sportscaster. The hat, I think he looks more golfy than me.
Wow.
Anyway, I like bowling, it's fun.
I guess.
Katie says John is the best host, so clear, concise, and still spicy when he needs to be. Jorby is great too with the sunglasses emoji. Thank you, Katie.
Cool, I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay, Itchy Brother Dragon on Twitch says, how much time? We have a minute 10. Okay, I live in Minneapolis. Jonathan Ross, who shot Miss Good, drove himself home from the scene. A neighbor saw him packing his car with help from his fellow ICE agents. He was not injured. He's evading justice with the help of ICE. There is photographic proof of him moving out of his house. Yeah, I've seen that going around. Let's see. Bradshaw Crew says, I wonder if Breff has the same shirt on too. I don't think he has this one. Should we buy it for him? That's a little golf
I think
gift.
we should.
We all go out dressed the same.
Yeah.
Over on YouTube, Don Whitehead sent 5 memberships as a gift. Thank you for that. Very nice of you. Just Another Dragon says, bros must be golfing. Yeah. Bach says it's awful but lawful. I'm not sure. Oh, wait. All of this is irrelevant. Box had previously said, the only thing that matters is could a reasonable person believe they were in fear of bodily injury or death in that moment without hindsight? Again, I don't believe that he thought he was right on the edge. He stepped out of the way. Again, he knows he's not supposed to be there. And also, if a car is barreling towards you, shooting the driver does not save your life. That's a crazy solution to the problem. And I don't believe he thought it was one, but agree to disagree. Welcome back, one and all. John and Jorby here. We got a lot more news to get to. But first, if you're tired of the doom scroll, and I know I am, I know many of you probably are, you're not alone. The entire system is designed to keep you glued to your screen, and all the while, the billionaire owners of big wireless profit from every minute that you're on it. But what if you could break that cycle and get rewarded for it? Well, our partners at Noble Mobile have a revolutionary idea. They pay you to use your phone less. On their Noble plan, you get unlimited data for just $50 a month. And right now, you can actually get $40 off of your first month and try Noble for only $10. Plus, the unused data you don't use gets you cash back. And so if that sounds good and you'd like more information, tyt.com/switch is a great place to get it. And with that, let's turn now to the continued efforts by the right to demonize not only Renee Nicole Good, but also anyone who is protesting against the invasion of their cities and states, starting with Megyn Kelly.
These cowards do not want to put themselves into danger, but they do like the mantle of hero. So they create this comic book talk about standing up and fighting back. Like, think about, and by the way, most of this is women, which is insane.
I mentioned this the other day, sort of tongue in cheek, but I actually do think it's a real dynamic. I don't think any of these people are having sex.
Yes.
I really don't.
Yes, Adam Carolla, tell me more about what you think about other people's sex life. So that's Megyn Kelly, a very serious commentator. With commentary like that, it's so surprising that she flamed out on the big networks. It's so weird that that didn't work out for her. But anyway, so they're not having enough sex, and also they're cowards just talking, even though the thing that infuriates Megyn Kelly and Adam Carolla is that they're in the streets protesting against a paramilitary force that has already murdered multiple people. Adam Carolla, That's not cowardly. That's braver than anything I've ever seen you do. You realize that you are commenting from a studio about how all these people who are putting their bodies on the line to defend their neighbors and strangers, people they don't even know, are out there potentially being maced and flashbanged and having tear gas and all that stuff that you are commenting on from your comfy, cushy, air-conditioned studio. And then because you just get bored of all that, delving into their sex life, I suppose. And that said, look, if Megyn Kelly is going to be talking about people's sex life, I guess I prefer her commentary about ICE to her defending men wanting to sleep with 15-year-olds as not technically being pedophiles. This is better, I suppose. But Jordan, what do you make of it?
It's just weird. And that's why I thought that line during the 2024 campaign from Walz as a catch-all for where the right has shifted culturally was a good one. And it was a massive mistake to just stop him from repeating it. Whatever, for a later election autopsy, but it was right. And you see it here yet again. Why is that your thought? You're talking about people being kidnapped. You're talking about people being assaulted, being murdered, being deported, being detained despite being a US citizen. Aren't you, isn't this your whole thing? You hate big government. You hate government overreach. And you have US citizens in some cases being held, assaulted, detained. We've seen numerous just in Minneapolis, just in the past week, and it's happening across the country. And you're worried about whether or not the protesters are getting laid? Well, what are you doing here? That's so weird. That is bizarre. You have a problem. Maybe you should go to a therapist, but why is that something you're worried about?
Yeah, no, it is so, especially considering on the other side of those protests are these pathetic little half men who are so desperate to feel big and strong and respected. And my God, if a woman doesn't immediately bow down to them, they lose their minds and fall into a murderous rage. But it's the women who are being weird and emotional. Very strange, but Megyn Kelly is the ultimate pick me, and she knows what she needs to say to have these MAGA men continue, at least for a little while, to accept her, because she is terrified that as far as she has already fallen in terms of media, she could still fall even further. And so she has to do this pathetic groveling, attacking other women, constantly attacking other women to get these right-wing men to accept her. It is a pathetic, disgusting way to live your life, but that's what she does. And we have more of her in this clip.
It's not coincidental that all these women are obese and unattractive with multiple piercings, no makeup, skin issues. That, like, I'm sorry, but if you're having positive interactions with men where like you're going to bed with them and they're treating you well and they're, you're enjoying it and you feel the euphoria that comes after that, you're not going out there and looking at all these men as the devil enemies who you want to hurt and kill and stop. And same for the guys.
Yeah, that, look, as Jordan said, that is just deeply weird. That does not make any sense whatsoever. Maybe they're so fulfilled in their own personal lives that they feel emotionally, mentally, psychologically freed up to demonstrate, to protect other people, to advance larger causes. And again, by the way, Megyn Kelly, when your party is being taken over by the Nick Fuenteses of the world, the people who say there's nothing gayer than having sex with a woman, I don't think we need your advice about our own sex lives. Why don't you police your own side of the aisle? But this is what they're saying. They think this is compelling. And by the way, it's a good read, Jordan, of her audience, because again, she knows what they want to hear. The guys who listen to her want her to attack these women. They constantly want to be told that these women are ugly and undesirable. That makes them feel better about the brutality. It definitely is the tactic they've used on Renee Nicole Good and her wife, claiming that they're lesbians, so for some reason their lives aren't as worthwhile. And we see this all over the place. And I agree, they gotta bring back the weird smear because there is more and more evidence every single day of it. But more thoughts, what do you think?
I mean, just speaking personally, it's much more attractive if a woman is out there fighting for something she believes in and that causes justice than somebody who's doing whatever this is. Like, you want to turn a blind eye to people being beaten up by cops, by federal agents in the street, being killed. All right, that's unattractive. I don't understand this obsession with the left's like sex life, with their relationships, with how they view authority. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're in a different field, but from comments like this to their maddening obsession with trans people's genitalia and what locker rooms they use, what sports they can play, how they conduct their lives. Again, this is a very weird obsession, and it shows just how warped the right has become on issues of culture.
100%. If you were personally satisfied, and I don't care if Adam Carolla is having sex as long as I don't have to think about it. I don't care if Megyn Kelly is having sex as long as I don't have to think about it. But if you were, you would not be constantly thinking about this. It would not be the thing that drives your life. But for them, it is. So let's go to a related sort of commentary. Will Cain, again, another way of making this not about the brutality and all of that, but trying to make it about something else misogynistic and weird and homophobic. Take a look.
Now this comes in this press conference today, as we're getting new witness video of Renee Good before the shooting. She can be seen in her vehicle blocking agents for several minutes, even dancing to the tune of her own car horn. You know, all the behavior of a legal observer. There's a weird kind of smugness, by the way, in the way that some of these liberal white women interact with authority. Most guys learn early in life that every confrontation has a sort of escalation chain. A joke, a push, an argument can eventually turn to violence. We spend a lifetime reading the signs, knowing when we're getting close, knowing when to pull back, knowing when we're on the edge of violence. These protesters, they seem completely oblivious, or they think they have a hall pass to the possibility that blocking cops or using their cars as barricades could end violently, tragically, but violently.
Okay, so bearing in mind that he does look like a guy who probably got punched in the face a lot growing up, dude, you're talking about her dancing to a horn? And you're trying to imply that what, she should have expected that would then result in her being shot? By the way, the comparison you're making is to, hey, when I was in 6th grade, I learned not to get bitch slapped by somebody. She's dealing with an ICE agent. They're not supposed to act like kids on a playground. They're supposed to be trained. But again, they betray what they know these forces to actually be. If you thought that they were serious law enforcement, well-trained, just doing their job, you would not be talking about how women need to bow down and not be smug lest you be shot in the face. But if you actually believe that they are the secret police, the paramilitary force, the Trump brown shirts that they 100% are right now, then yeah, you might talk about them that way. As if they're total loose cannons that could erupt into violence at any moment. And don't you dare have a smug smile on your face for 1 second or you could be shot by them. But Will Cain understands who they are, Jordan. That's what it feels like to me.
I mean, we covered it on Indisputable today, and maybe some viewers have seen the video, but there was a woman in Minneapolis who was waiting to cross the street. There was an ICE vehicle at the red light waiting to turn right. And because she wasn't going through the crosswalk fast enough, again, we're talking about Minneapolis in January, where it is icy as hell. Of course, you're going to walk slow. They got out, both of them, the driver and the passenger, got out of their vehicle and started shooting her and others with rubber bullets. How does she de-escalate in that situation when they're psychopaths? The problem is not how people respond to these violent animals. It's how they avoid them and how we ultimately shut this entire thing down.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there should be charges, there should be investigations. It should not be enough, look, pathetic men like Will Cain would just tell you, just submit, just bow down to the man in the uniform instantly, ahead of time. If you see him coming around the corner, definitely bow down. That's no way to live. It's no way for an American to live. It's no way for a man to live. They are utterly pathetic, and it is performative, submissive masculinity that should be beneath all of us. But unfortunately, it's become the norm on the right. Okay, I think that we should take our second break because after this break, we're finally gonna move on to other topics. We have some important stuff to talk about, including a judge laying a verbal smackdown on the Trump administration after this. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. Kevin Shea says in the YouTube comments, has Chuck Schumer written a strongly worded letter yet? Very funny. Christina Lisa Brown says, John and Jordan are twins today with a ton of emojis. How cute. Thank you. Kraken Engineer says, hey, ICE agents are getting the finest law enforcement education. Just like the barber licensing course, that's 4 months long. They get so much more training than ICE officers do. Absolutely absurd. Okay. By the way, oh man, prior to Trump getting in office, they love talking about the qualifications you had to have for everything. Remember Charlie Kirk? I'd be terrified if I see a black pilot. Maybe he wasn't chosen because he's super well qualified. Meanwhile, ICE doesn't need any training whatsoever. And they can just violate all their training live on camera. Doesn't matter. It's almost like DEI for right wingers. Anyway, Bo3670 in the super chat says, love John and Jordan emceeing today, but I think after the remarks Jackson White dropped an hour ago about his desires vis-a-vis Christian cinema, I think you need to give him a forum to expound on that. I don't think I want to. Where did he make these comments? I'm not familiar with any of this, by the way. Christina Lisa Brown says, happy Friday to the best damn show in chat in America. Thank you. I appreciate that. YTP Renewed says, to be fair, they aren't having enough sex is the exact same thing many abortion access advocates say of detractors. Why is that better? Yeah, look, people throw that around quite a bit. People can be a little bit callous about that. I don't know. I feel like a woman was just shot in the face. Feels worse in this particular case. You're right to point out that both sides do that. We definitely mock the incels or whatever. But in that particular case, they are self-identifying in that particular way, and they do often engage in acts of violence against women. So I don't think it's exactly the same thing. But you're right. We should always be willing to check ourselves too. Okay, let's see. Ford Country 420 says, I had internal bleeding in my arm last week. Still don't know how I got it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't shoot anybody in the face. Most of us don't. Katie says, OMG, John just read my comment live during the break for the first time ever. I feel like a friggin' celebrity. Well, I'm glad that I was able to make you feel that way. Thank you for the comment. Fitzfam says, there is no way they would have discharged him as quickly as they did from the hospital if in fact there had been internal bleeding from blunt force trauma like a car hitting someone, and the video doesn't lie. Yeah, no, I don't think that he had any internal bleeding. And if he did, I think it was that classic, what was it, in Fear, where the woman's hitting herself over and over. I think worst case scenario, he did that to himself while he was sitting in his house. But anyway, we have more. We unfortunately don't have time. We'll be right back. Welcome back, one and all. A couple more stories to cover here in the first hour of the Young Turks. By the way, in the second hour, you get even more Jordan, and I believe Brett is going to be leading the second hour, right? So should be a lot of fun second hour and bonus up. No, it's no, Jordan. Brett is going to be
I'm
there.
leading. I'm the captain.
Oh, you're a lead. Okay, he is the captain now. I thought you were shaking your head no when I said it's going to be a lot of fun. I thought this was
also no.
slamming Brett.
Yeah, also
no fun. And he'll be in charge. But anyway, okay, well then let's fit in some fun while we can. And this might be a little bit of fun, so let's jump into it. A federal judge appointed by none other than Ronald Reagan called out what he called breathtaking constitutional violations by senior Trump officials while calling Trump an authoritarian. His words, that according to him, very carefully chosen, saying that he expects everyone in the executive branch to, quote, toe the line absolutely. And this all happened during a hearing in Boston to determine the appropriate remedies for the detentions that the administration carried out last year against pro-Palestinian students. Basically, anybody that was organizing and advocating for the Palestinians was being relentlessly harassed and canceled and censored by the government, detained and deported. And so that's what they're looking into. Many of them, by the way, hadn't been accused of any crime whatsoever, except for wrongthink and saying things that were politically incorrect, I suppose. But they spent weeks confined in ICE detention facilities, oftentimes hundreds of miles away from where they live. Many times their families not even being told where they are for days. They're just hoping maybe to find a cell phone video of them being black bagged and carted off somewhere around the country. That's where we were at early in Trump's first year. But in regards to this, US District Judge William Young said that Donald Trump and top officials have a, quote, fearful approach to freedom of speech that would seek to, quote, exclude from participation everyone who doesn't agree with them. Pointed out Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Secretary of State Marco Rubio engaged in an unconstitutional conspiracy to deprive people of their rights, saying, quote, the Secretary of State, the senior cabinet officer in our history involved in this. And also says there was no policy here. What happened here is an unconstitutional conspiracy to pick off certain people. And we all know that, obviously, as we were reporting on that last year, we acknowledged that. But to have a federal judge say it in these terms, and a Reagan appointee, who I have no doubt will be smeared as a commie by the right, Carolyn Leavitt's preparing her remarks probably right now. But that's pretty bold. And we have more, Jordan, but what do you make of this?
I mean, we're what, minutes away from that judge being doxxed and his address being published and singled out by Trump in a Truth Social post, and his legions of cultists harassing this judge and his family. I mean, good on him for pointing this out, respect. But I also feel like that's the bar's on the floor. That's what your job is. You're supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be protecting and serving the Constitution. Trump will not like this. The right certainly will not like this. They'll call him an activist. They'll call him a radical, leftist, communist, Marxist, whatever. I mean, as sad as it is, my next thought is, I hope he's okay. I hope he's safe for just doing his job. But that's the world we live in. Trump wants to destroy the fabric of this country and remake it in his own image.
Yeah, no, 100%. Everything he's saying seems so indisputable, and yet, I don't know. Our country is full. The commentariat is full of supposed free speech absolutists that didn't care. You write an op-ed, I guess you're going to get deported for it. Bear in mind, even for simpler cases, the dude in the Ford plant who yelled at Trump, he was suspended from his job. All the people who were writing books about censorship, left-wing cancel culture run amok, not a peep out of them. Because a guy inconvenienced an elite. How dare you, a mere peasant, yell at us, point out that he's protecting a pedophile? You deserve to lose your livelihood. That's the message they are undoubtedly sending by their silence. But let's move back to the judge and more of what he said. I've asked myself why. How did this happen? How could our government, the highest officials in our government, seek to infringe the rights of people lawfully here in the United States? And I've come to believe that there's a concept of freedom here that I don't understand. The record in this case convinces me that these high officials, and I include the president of the United States, have a fearful view of freedom. And I agree with that. Now, the lawyers on behalf of those who were detained and deported, censored by the government, they want quite a bit of relief from the government. It doesn't seem like they're going to get that. But Young said that he expected to issue a more narrowly tailored order next Thursday, so be on watch for that. One that would protect the non-citizen members of the plaintiff groups from changes to their immigration status, except in certain defined circumstances. Not, as we saw it, just whim. Just Marco Rubio deciding in a tweet that one individual, because libs of TikTok pointed out something that they didn't like, that person was gonna be hunted down, dragged off the street, a bag over their head. That's how it was working. And by the way, let me just, to bring full circle this whole week of all the news and everything, we've got people like Joe Rogan who are suddenly like, oh my God, now we're the Gestapo. No, not right now. It's been going on. It's been going on the entire Trump term. And not just this one. Remember, unmarked Kia SUVs in Portland and all that. Last time, we're just driving down the street, dudes in plainclothes jumping out of it, kidnapping people. That was in Trump's first term. None of this is a surprise. Nobody gets to be surprised. Not if they want to be taken seriously. I know Joe Rogan would say you can't expect any more of him, but he was conscious during that time. And so this has been going on for a really long time. It is good to see, even if, as Jordan points out, it might be the bare minimum, that some judges are taking it seriously. Any final thoughts though, Jordan?
Yeah, it's some of this stems from pro-Palestinian students being detained. One of those, Rumeisha Ozturk, wrote an op-ed. That's it. She wrote an op-ed talking about Tufts University, where she was a graduate student, their investments in Israeli companies. The broader argument was let's pull back, let's divest. In my opinion, the most peaceful form of protest you could possibly engage in. That's unacceptable. And we talked about it on the show the other night, I believe, actually last night, the comment on CNN on the panel that Anna was on, where the Republican commentator said, "Oh, you don't peacefully protest like this," talking about Minneapolis. You could peacefully protest by writing a letter to the editor or starting a Substack or a podcast. Really? Because Rumeisha Ozturk wrote an op-ed and still got apprehended because of her viewpoint. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. There is no form of protest that's ever going to be acceptable for the right. And if you have the wrong opinion or thought or viewpoint, if you are not, especially if you are not a full citizen, they'll still come after you. But it's important to remember, you have constitutional rights if you are visiting here. It is geographic, not based on citizenship. If you are a student, you're on a visa. Even if you're a tourist, you still have your First Amendment rights here.
Yeah. And I would just remind everyone, we happen to have here in the United States a college-focused organization that has unlimited money and power, whose purpose supposedly is to stop students from being attacked for expressing unpopular political views. Turning Point USA. You can't say anything anymore without cancel culture. Meanwhile, nary a peep. No commentary about people being kidnapped, detained, assaulted for writing words that the administration didn't like. These people are absolutely massive, historic grade hypocrites. But with that said, why don't we move to one final story, something that probably will develop over this weekend. We'll talk about it. Let's jump into this video.
Lady Lindsey is so broken. We got a clip of him. He's so broken. He just tweets out he's on a plane to go over and sob. Put his head on Netanyahu's shoulders. Have Netanyahu burp him like a little baby because he's all upset now that President Trump hasn't taken his advice. He and Tel Aviv Levin.
Now, I understand why Steve Bannon is excited about the recent developments. I think that he's taking the baby metaphor a little bit too far. Once you get to the burping, you've kind of lost me, Steve Bannon. But what he's talking about there is how Lindsey Graham was quite distraught over what it seemed like in the past day or so, Donald Trump backing off of some of the hawkish statements and actions in regard to Iran, seeming to indicate that perhaps we will not be bombing that country. We'll give our thoughts, but first, let's show you what Lindsey Graham had said that led to Steve Bannon's comment.
There are a lot of headlines out there that are, in my view, not accurate. President Trump's resolve is not the question. The question is, when we do an operation like this, should it be bigger or smaller? I'm in the camp of bigger. Time will tell. I'm hopeful and optimistic that the regime days are numbered.
There's a very strange tone and vibe coming off of Lindsey Graham right there. But in any event, he did say on Twitter that he was traveling to Israel to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu, perhaps not surprising. And so Steve Bannon, happy that Lindsey Graham doesn't, at least as of present, seem to be getting his way. He's not the only one taking that sort of position. Tucker Carlson said the South Carolina senator flocked to Jerusalem less than 4 weeks ago to give the ground. Benjamin Netanyahu walks on a nice, thorough kissing, but now he wants more. Graham subjected his Twitter followers to a written lecture about how standing together with America's purported top ally only makes us stronger. Precisely whom does Graham mean when he says us? Plenty of possibilities exist, but the one group to which he's definitely not referring is the people of South Carolina. We know he's long forgotten, but Lindsey is supposed to be in Congress to serve them, not a foreign country. It would be nice if he could try it for a change. That said, I don't know, I'm curious what you think, Jordan. I remember what Donald Trump was saying before they bombed Iran last time, implying that he was gonna cool things off for a couple of weeks and think about it. And so I could be wrong, don't go putting your money on Polymarket on my behalf or anything, but I feel like Donald Trump's comments are to get them to lower their guard, keep sleeping in the same bed that you've been sleeping in according to intel reports. I feel like the bombing is still gonna happen this weekend, but I'm curious what you think.
I mean, I would hope not. It's only gonna make things worse. Again, none of this is really to actually benefit the people of Iran. This is because the administration wants a new government that would be more collegial with the United States. So we have access, better positioning in that region. That's it. Ultimately, they want to also protect Israel and Israel's interests, and Israel sees Iran as a threat. That I would hope not. I know Lindsey Graham desperately wants it. And despite being handed a peace prize and also receiving the prestigious FIFA peace prize, John, I still do think that the Trump administration is going to engage in a direct attack on Iran in the coming days or weeks. I don't know when. I certainly don't feel confident predicting exactly when, but I'm sure Lindsey Graham will get the strike on Iran that he so desperately wants.
Yeah, I just feel like, why wouldn't they at this point? Considering who they are and all that, I think that they will. Apparently, by the way, the Pentagon has revealed it's moving a carrier strike group toward the Middle East, as you do when you're peacing. But anyway, so look, and again, you can have your position, you can have whatever position you want in terms of what you would like to happen. I'm in a difficult position because I would love it if the Iranian people finally could self-determine, choose their government if they were free. I wish that America hadn't taken that away from them many decades ago. I don't believe that Lindsey Graham gives a damn about the people of Iran. I don't think any more than Steve Bannon or Tucker Carlson do. I don't think that Donald Trump does either. I know what he thinks about protesters, and so it's a complicated and difficult thing. I don't have an answer. I only have a prediction that I hope isn't true, but we will of course see. And I will just briefly mention, by the way, so I am glad that occasionally Tucker Carlson can say something that seems to indicate a desire for peace. I would also point out, I saw what he posted recently about Trump and Greenland and NATO and everything, and he was 100% down. But yeah, no, we're bigger, big take from small. Who the hell cares about NATO? It's probably gonna go away anyway. We should totally break it up. And then if you believe philosophically that big take from small, then yeah, we'll take Greenland or whatever and set fire to all of our alliances with the Europeans and everything. And then what ground do we have to stand on to say that Russia shouldn't take Ukraine? I don't think Tucker Carlson would say we have any, and I don't think he would have a problem if they did. And if China took Taiwan and regional hegemons in the Middle East and Africa start gobbling up states around them, that's something. That's an interesting philosophy. It doesn't really seem pro-peace to me. And also, I would remind you, he had seemed to indicate a little bit of opposition to what happened with Venezuela, which is good. But then he also was at that meeting with Trump and the oil executives cheering on Donald Trump. So mixed messages at best coming out of Tucker Carlson when it comes to foreign policy recently. That's just my take. Any final thoughts on any of this, Jordan?
You're telling me that Tucker Carlson is disingenuous, John?
For the first time ever.
I mean, come on. Everyone needs to stop pretending like Tucker Carlson is anti-intervention. He's telling you. He'll say one thing on a show because he wants plaudits, and he does another thing when it gets him closer to power. That's all he cares about. Of course he went to the meeting with the oil executives because he doesn't actually care. He's not a principled person. And the only reason he's criticizing Lindsey Graham is not because he's guided by anti-intervention, it's because he doesn't like Israel. Why doesn't he like Israel? Because he doesn't like Jewish people. He's pushed the anti-Semitic Great Replacement conspiracy theory 4 years on his cable news show. Are you going to actually believe that he's doing this out of some moral and religious conviction? Anybody, give me a break.
Yeah, no, I certainly don't. And by the way, he can be against some interventions and not just him. You know, Marjorie Greene was against the original bombing of Iran.
Another anti-Semite.
Yeah, well, that's also true. But she also has been advocating for the bombing of Mexico for a long time. Like, it's very convenient to claim that you're anti-war, but like if you're openly advocating for a number of wars and invasions and neo-colonial adventures, I don't know. I just feel like maybe you're not as pure as you think. I don't know. But anyway, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe motivation doesn't matter. If you're against an intervention, maybe the reasons people might be your allies on that don't matter. I don't know. I believe in identifying things the way I see them. But anyway, well, we are out of time. Covered a lot of ground there, Jordan, and we did it in style, Jordan, which I think is the most important thing. In any event, I look forward to discussing the news again with you shortly. I even more so look forward to golfing with you soon.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Monday.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, and Jordan is going to have a lot more thoughts on a lot more topics, and soon he'll be joined on the other side of this break with Brett, so don't go anywhere. They'll be right back with more.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
We talk about TYT Army being so strong. Usually they help us run our show. Now they're gonna help us run the country.
Like this.
It's time that we reclaim democracy for the people.
We had a huge victory for Wolfpack.
When Lincoln said this was a country by, of, and for, he said of the people, not of corporations.
Our representatives don't represent us. Whoa, democracy!
United!
We are!
We are!
Too strong! There's thousands of volunteers, and you can be among them. When you get the power back, oh, that feels good. This is just the beginning. Knock, knock. We're coming for them! Wolf-pack.com.
Mayweather will knock out Pacquiao. Floyd beats his wife.
Okay, I get it. You're progressive. You're looking for other progressive voices. Why? Because you want real progress to happen. You're tired of the why, regular stuff. You should be checking out the Young Turks. Why? Because who else is going to have Killer Mike talking about politics and social issues in his new TV show, Trigger Warning?
My dad wrote the story of his life. It's called Original Young Turk. It's a book on shoptyt.com. Part of the story is how I became progressive. Now, he doesn't write about that per se, but in his life story, you see, oh my God, when a community helps one another, when the government also chips in and gives you free education, anything is possible. He went from an incredibly poor olive farmer to living the American dream.
You're smoking some of the best dope God ever put breath in. Thank God it's Friday!
Welcome back to the Young Turks. I'm Jordan Newell, and now I'm joined by Brett Ehrlich. Brett, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm just excited to get into the show today.
Oh no!
Oh no, what? Sorry, I just getting a little warm in here.
All right. Okay, I see how it is.
While I don't have the self-same shirt as the other bad boys of TYT, I do have my Chaminade College Preparatory Class of 2000 Student Council shirt, which, mind you, is in the same style, though it was knitted in the year 2000, as these yokels are wearing in 2026, ahead of the curve.
Wonderful. Well, we've got a lot to get into, so let's start with this.
I present the President of the United States, the Bannon, the prize, and the recognition for his unique commitment with our freedom.
Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado headed to Washington, D.C. yesterday to debase herself in front of the country. She gifted Trump her Nobel Peace Prize after years of him complaining about not winning the prize himself. Here's the photo, and this is hilarious. You could see the excitement beaming from his face. He looks like a happy little boy. And if you look at the plaque, you'll see it reads, "To President Donald J. Trump, in gratitude for your extraordinary leadership in promoting peace through strength, advancing diplomacy, and defending liberty and prosperity." Following the meeting, a White House official also confirmed to the press that Trump did, in fact, accept the medal. And there was a photo posted today on his Truth Social with Tucker Carlson, and the medal is prominently placed on his desk. But on Truth Social, he also wrote, "It was my great honor to meet Maria Machado of Venezuela today. She's a wonderful woman who has been through so much. Maria presented me with her Nobel Peace Prize for the work I have done. Such a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. Thank you, Maria." Machado in turn said Friday, it quote, "took a lot of courage for Trump to take action against Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro." The Nobel Peace Center, meanwhile, poked fun at Trump and Machado, writing on X, as the Norwegian Nobel Committee states, once a Nobel Prize is announced, it cannot be revoked, shared, or transferred to others. The decision is final and stands for all time. A medal can change owners, but the title of a Nobel Peace Prize laureate cannot. And there is some important context for this embarrassing display. Despite being the opposition leader, Donald Trump has refused to install Machado as Nicolas Maduro's replacement. After the US abducted Maduro, Trump argued that Machado wasn't popular enough among the Venezuelan people and didn't command enough respect. But there were also allegations that Trump was just salty about her winning the Nobel Prize. On January 4th, the Washington Post reported that 2 people close to the White House said the president's lack of interest in boosting Machado, despite her recent efforts to flatter Trump, stemmed from her decision to accept the Nobel Peace Prize, an award the president has openly coveted. Although Machado ultimately said she was dedicating the award to Trump, her acceptance of the prize was an ultimate sin, said one of the people. If she had turned it down and said, I cannot accept it because it's Donald Trump's, she'd be the president of Venezuela today, this person said. Now, despite her decision to hand off the prize to Trump, it appears that Trump's opinion of her still hasn't changed. Here's Caroline Levitt responding to questions about Machado yesterday.
Is it still the president's assessment that it would be very hard for Ms. Machado to leave Venezuela because he says she lacks the respect and support in that country?
I think the president's assessment that you just pointed out was based on realities on the ground. It was a realistic assessment based on what the president was reading and hearing from his advisors and national security team. And at this moment in time, his opinion on that matter has not changed.
So this all may be for naught, Brett. And I also saw other reporting that the head of the CIA went down to meet with the current government, undermining this potential relationship or scheming by Machado and the opposition. What do you make of this? How humiliating is this for Trump, if at all?
It should be humiliating for both of them. Like, does he think? Like, I talk to people with dementia. Does he think that he won the Nobel Prize because he has one? It's not a bearer bond. It's not an actual gold coin that then you have and can spend. This reminds me of those guys who like buy a game jersey and then feel like it makes them, I don't know, John Elway. Because you're wearing it at the bar. Like, you're not the Nobel Prize winner. You're the Nobel Prize haver. Like, she went to Aaron Brothers Art Mart and got it framed and had to write that copy to President Donald J. This is insane. It sucks because like it'll never be enough and it's not cool. It's not cool. You have the Nobel Prize as much as that gold emblem you bought on the wall from Home Depot is made of actual gold. Like, compare this to other things that changed hands after you won them. Like Robert Kraft from the New England Patriots had a Super Bowl ring and went to visit with what's his name, Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin, as the story goes, said, "Thank you for, can I see that ring?" And Kraft gives it to him and he looks at it and then Putin walks away with it. That's cooler than I didn't win the prize, I was trying. He's the Atlanta Falcons. Like, he's the team that got its ass kicked in the Super Bowl and then thought it would be cool and then like asked, "Can I please have the Lombardi trophy?" That's what happened here. I hate to break it to you, dude. You're not a Nobel Prize winner. She was. And the worst part is like, she debasing herself so that she can have what she thinks is going to be his support. And he's not going to give her that support. He just wanted the shiny thing because he's 9. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
there's a couple things here for me. One, this stems back from Obama winning it and him wanting to be better than Obama and exceed Obama in every way. So that's part of it. Another part of it for me is this is classic, like, wealthy guy brain at work. I can buy everything. I can have everything I want. Why can't I have this? I want this. Give this to me. I can just throw money at everything or use leverage to get everything I want. Why is this not working here? And what he sees here is a moment of leverage that he can exploit so he can have the thing that money has not been able to obtain for him. And it also placates that festering sore in his soul over Obama actually winning one. And the reason that he's not going to install her is because they recognize she's not popular and that would lead to unrest. They're not like, they're evil, but they're not all dumb. And especially in the CIA, they recognize how unpopular she actually is there. She polled among the lowest of every political figure in that country. So it wouldn't just be like swapping out somebody who's a close second. It would be going from like first to 10th. That is what would lead to unrest if they install her. So he saw, hey, she wants this. I can get what I want. And then we don't have to do anything. She has no leverage then. You just made a deal with the guy who is notorious for screwing people over after he gets his side of an agreement. Good luck.
Yeah. And like, I'd like to see what will happen in Venezuela after this. Like either really nothing, because he went from Machado to Machado's bestie, or death, murder, war, vigilantism, blood, or American boots on the ground getting killed. But I got my Nobel Prize. I got my Nobel Peace Prize. Like, it's ridiculous. And there's like all these dudes out there. When I went on Twitter last night, it's a big mistake, my fault. And like the way people are spinning this kind of stuff, or today, I forget when it was. But like the way people are spinning this stuff, they are talking as though he has won it. Like, oh, he has it now. There are real people out there just slowly like sous videing everyone's brain into this tender mush by just being on that platform, creating like a fictional world where like Trump has the Nobel Prize. Like, what's she gonna do when he finds out that that prize also comes with $1,035,000? Like he'd be like, oh dang, I'll make you president if you give me the $1 million. It's so insane, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
But it is my favorite story of the day.
It's a good one. It is a really good one. This one, not so much my favorite, but we might have progress on Donald Trump's healthcare plan. Take a look at this.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my plan to lower healthcare prices for all Americans and truly make healthcare affordable again. We're doing things that nobody's ever been able to do. We're calling it the Great Healthcare Plan.
The Great Healthcare Plan. After more than 10 years of promises that it was coming, Donald Trump has finally released his healthcare plan. Sort of. As the Washington Post pointed out, the plan stopped short of offering a detailed replacement for the Affordable Care Act. The administration released no legislative text nor timeline for related congressional action and did not indicate whether Republican leaders support the proposal, even as healthcare costs loom as a central issue in this year's closely contested midterm elections. Asked how the proposal would advance in Congress, administration officials said it was a broad architecture intended to guide lawmakers on next steps. And as we have seen for years, that should be smooth sailing through Congress, nothing to worry about. His announcement, however, comes as millions of Americans on ACA plans are now subject to higher monthly premiums due to the expiration of subsidies after Republican inaction late last year. A KFF analysis last year found that people who buy insurance from the marketplace and receive financial assistance would see their premiums rise by about 114% on average, from $888 in 2025 to $1,904 in 2026. So what's in Trump's plan? Trump's proposal includes a mix of initiatives that are already underway, such as Trump's push to cut US drug prices by linking them with the lower cost of drugs sold abroad, and some of his stalled ambitions, such as his desire to redirect billions of dollars in federal funding away from health insurers and toward average Americans. Trump also called to restore funding for the ACA's cost sharing reduction program, an insurance subsidy program that he ended in his first term, and to institute maximum price transparency by requiring hospitals and insurers to make more information available to consumers. Policy experts and critics are, wow, shocker, unimpressed. Trump's healthcare plan is a subsidy. Grace Silva, a spokeswoman for 314 Action, a liberal advocacy group working to elect scientists and physicians to government, wrote in a statement. Senator Elizabeth Warren said, Donald Trump's new plan is a band-aid for the full-blown healthcare crisis he and Republicans in Congress created. But just take a second. Have you considered this?
Great healthcare plan. That's the name. It's called the Great Healthcare because it's great healthcare at a lower price.
I don't know, Brett. Can you argue with that? It's great healthcare.
Great healthcare plan. Oh, great, neat, good job. It's not a plan. It is concepts of a plan. Like he promised that he had concepts of the plan. The thing is, like if it's a year and a half since you said you had concepts and it didn't go anywhere since then, you suck at this. My guy has had, I want to say, 10 full years to have a healthcare plan. He started running for president 10 years ago. And he said along the way multiple times, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. You don't need to watch the movie Total Recall to realize that when someone repeats 2 weeks for a long ass time, it's gonna blow. And this half plan series of bullet points blows. The least he could have done was take the bullet points, put it into ChatGPT and said, can you write me some healthcare policy? But this is something that is very, very real about Donald Trump. He doesn't care. And he only knows how things are gonna look. He only cares how things are gonna look. And he knows that I think he knows that if he has a plan and puts it forward, it's gotta happen. And if it happens or if people have it, they can find holes in it. But if it's ambiguous, people can kind of add to it whatever they want. And most of us on the left are looking at this and saying like, here are the conclusions we can draw based on the nonsense you put forward. And they'll be like, oh, you're projecting. It's like, no, man, it is very obvious the kinds of stuff you want to do. Like the problem with healthcare that we have right now is that we have a private system. And then wherever you don't have a job, where your employer, and you and the HR people get together and be like, do I want Anthem Gold or Anthem Silver? If you don't have that, you got to buy your own health insurance. You've got to do that. Or when you go to the hospital, you're going to have to spend $100,000 or give them everything you do, or don't go to the hospital and just die. Well, we had this stopgap thing in the middle where we're like, hey, we have the government program to help you out. We have Medicaid, we have Medi-Cal, we have all these like things where poor people who are in this predicament because they don't have jobs that give them health care have some kind of assistance. So the government was like, all right, we'll subsidize it. Here's your low. You go on the website and it's like you're paying less. Trump got rid of the subsidies. So when you go on the website, when these subsidies last, it's gonna say, oh, you live in Alabama, you're gonna have to pay 10 times or 5 times or 2 times more than you did before. And he knows that that's gonna feel bad when you go to the website and you try to check out with healthcare and it's now 10 times more expensive. And I don't know if anyone's seen Beverly Hills Cop, but there is a thing where Gilbert Gottfried's character is like, you have this horrible thing in one hand. What could I have in this hand to make me forget about the horrible thing in this hand? And the answer is money. So Trump wants to put money in your hand. That's the direct payments he's always talking about. The problem is the bill in this hand is much bigger and more expensive than the $40 he's gonna put in this hand with Donald Trump. And he is relying on his supporters who are disadvantaged, poor, whatever you want to call it. He's relying that just having a check will make them so happy, even though they owe more money than they did before. He's hoping they're stupid enough to think that giving them a few shekels is going to make them happier than if they actually were paying less and were better off with those healthcare subsidies.
Part of the discussion around his concepts of a plan, some of his talking points over the past several months have been driving me insane, because his grand idea is ultimately, they was kind of, loosely nodded to in the Washington Post report, but he's talked about, redirecting money from the insurance companies to Americans. What do you think they would do with that? Like, what they're doing now is giving money to the insurance companies for a plan. And part of the problem here is that the subsidies, money from the government, was going to these people sort of to subsidize the cost that ultimately went to the insurance companies. What the plan is just like a different iteration of what currently exists, but you want to disassemble the Affordable Care Act marketplace, and then what? You just go to the website, you go directly to the insurance company's website. Okay, how is that different? Other than it might be a different step, and you'll probably get less money from the government than you would with these enhanced subsidies. None of this solves the problem.
It has all the trappings of like conservative economics. It has all the buzzwords like, oh, every individual is going to act in their own best interests and supply and demand will happen. But here's the thing, for a lot of these other companies, like that's not what's happening. For the rich people, it's not like that. They have special treatment, you don't. Now, a lot of so now the question is like, okay, how do you do healthcare better? How do you do healthcare cheaper? Well, he's going to be like, oh, why don't you give us the same rate that other countries get? Well, the way the other countries get those rates is that they negotiate as the entire nation to get the drug prices because they have a single payer healthcare system and they Costco that bitch. They show up and they're like, I will buy 1 billion vials of Ozempic. And you're making a lot of money because I'm buying 1 billion of them. Can you give me a wholesale price? Now, what is Trump's actual plan with those subsidies? To do the opposite of that collective bargaining. He wants to fractionalize the bargaining and give it to individuals so that they have to go, do it on their own. Meanwhile, the places in the world with the different healthcare system, with the single payer government-run healthcare system, they not only live longer than us, but they spend less overall on that healthcare. Now, I'm willing to go to the table with that kind of negotiating framework. How about we start with the goal of something that is gonna be cheaper and we don't die as soon. And then we can have like, everyone's like, what's hilarious is like they say, oh, these other countries, they don't have like the top tier. If you got a fancy disease, you're kind of screwed if you're in those countries, and America can do it. But the answer is most people can't have access to that fancy treatment in America. The rich people are the only ones saying that. They are mad that you have to get into the same system with everybody else. I guarantee you, if we go to the single payer healthcare system, there's still gonna be fancy healthcare because this will still be America. We have Medicare, and you also have like all these private Medicare systems that you can sign up for if you've got money to kind of buttress your coverage. That's still gonna happen. That happens in places with single payer healthcare. They also have private insurance companies. The difference is, here you go in you got a scratch on your knee. If you don't have insurance, you got to pay them $10,000. But if my friend went to wherever he went on spring break and fell and cut his head open, he got stitches in an ambulance, and they were like, thank you, bye. How much do I owe you? Nothing. That is how traumatized we've been in America. We don't have that experience. There's downsides to every system, but like, it is crazy in other countries where if you go to the hospital, they don't charge you anything. Same way if your house is on fire, you don't get a bill from the fire department.
Yep. Yeah, it's when you talk to people in Canada, they laugh. I mean, you can pay, like the example that I was given by a friend who lives there. So yeah, you can pay, a little bit to have a private room if you like a private delivery room if you're having a kid, or you can just, maybe share a room and pay nothing. Okay, those are your alternatives. One of the options is not spiraling into medical debt because you can't afford it no matter what. That's not a scenario. That's only here. Why would we protect this? Why would we insulate this? But conversation for another day. We got to take a break. Got a lot more to come, so stick and stay.
I have concepts of a plan.
Welcome to Social Break. Brett, I got a question.
Yeah, ask away, ask away.
Have you heard about Noble Mobile?
Have I heard about Noble Mobile? Oh my God, it's a certain amount of money. You should sign up, tyt.com/ I don't remember what it is.
Switch. But don't forget.
Don't forget.
Don't forget about our sponsor.
Oh my God, wait, they're a sponsor?
Yeah.
Noble Mobile's a sponsor of this show.
That's right. And it's
Wait a minute.
Only phone plan.
Wait, so here's my problem with most things. I don't pay a smaller amount of money on my current plan, and then I get unlimited data, and the balance that I don't spend. The problem with my old system is that they don't pay me money for the data I don't use. Now, if only there was a system that did that.
Wouldn't that be something? It's so funny you say that because Noble Mobile is the only phone plan that pays you to use your phone less.
No.
Get unlimited data for just $10 for your first month, powered by the T-Mobile network. Plus, get cash back for your unused data. And Brett, you can switch today at tyt.com/switch.
Oh my God, I'm going and doing it.
This is crazy.
You can't see me because I'm off doing it. Right. I'm off joining.
Let's get into some comments.
I'm off joining. I'm not here.
This is
Andrew Yang. Billy Bob Thornton says that T-Mobile's stuff is really good now in a commercial I saw that I thought was a Landman clip, but it's actually just a commercial. So sign up today.
We'll see on the other side. Welcome back to the Young Turks. I'm Jordan Ewell, joined by Brett Ehrlich. And we have some breaking news. According to multiple sources, Trump's Department of Justice is now investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey over alleged conspiracy to impede immigration agents. CBS News reports that one of the sources, a U.S. official, said the investigation stems from statements that Walz and Frey have made about the thousands of immigration and customs enforcement officers and Border Patrol agents deployed to the Minneapolis region in recent weeks. The federal inquiry is focused on a federal statute, 18 U.S.C. 372, one U.S. official told CBS News, which makes it a crime for two or more people to conspire to prevent federal officers from carrying out their official duties through force, intimidation, or threats. That's basically all the information we have about the investigation so far. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche did seem to make a vague reference to the investigation earlier this week, writing on X, Walz and Frey, I'm focused on stopping you from your terrorism by whatever means necessary. This is not a threat, it's a promise. And as we know, yesterday, Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE. Now, Walz and Frey have been vocal in their opposition to ICE's campaign in Minnesota, but the DOJ hasn't provided any examples of them obstructing operations or directing others to do so. And in multiple instances, both men have urged protesters to stay peaceful. Take a look.
For anyone that is taking the bait tonight, stop. That is not helpful. Go home. We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos.
Donald Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets. We cannot give him what he wants. We must protest loudly, urgently, but also peacefully.
And in response to this news, Tim Walz said in a statement, 2 days ago, it was Alyssa Slotkin. Last week, it was Jerome Powell. Before that, Mark Kelly. Weaponizing the justice system and threatening political opponents is a dangerous, authoritarian tactic. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. Brett.
Yeah, they said they were going to look into the wife of the woman who was shot. They put more volume behind that announcement and zero volume behind whether, like, they never were like, we should look into this guy who did the deed. Like, also investigations. That's not a threat, it's a promise. Like, investigating is so boring. But it's like so annoying and it's so bureaucratic from these like small government people. It's the fact that they're looking at the guy who is out there saying, don't go out and do violence. I think the main problem that people like Donald Trump and Blanche and Kristi Noem face is that I have watched so many videos that provide evidence of how poorly ICE is doing its operations. That's the stuff. Like every time someone's like, well, here's this and here's that, I just say like, listen, it's my lion eyes you got to worry about. And it's my ears when I hear things happen and my eyes when I see it happen. Like I've seen so many videos of you guys doing some terrible stuff, taking 17-year-olds out of their job at Target and dropping them off at a Walmart after you brutalized them and didn't listen to them. You're going around the streets of America saying papers, please. That's not America. We don't have to also give you the papers. And it's this horrible, ridiculous video that I see, or the dynamic that I see it play every single time. It's always the same thing. It's like the ICE agents trying to trick you into something besides what the law is that they can get you on a technicality about obstructing justice or impeding their investigation. And the people that they're targeting, it's horrible. Like you're getting folk like Uber drivers sitting there waiting to drive more Uber. They're more vetted to become an Uber driver than you are to become an ICE agent. I saw a report where a woman tried, she's a journalist, and she kind of tried to start joining ICE to see how hard it would be. She gave up, and they said, congratulations, you're hired. She was already on lists, calling these guys patriots, impeding the patriots of ICE. You know who you're hiring. There are plenty of patriots. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a bad person. I think there are some patriotic people who sign up for law enforcement so that they can do right in the world. That's not this batch, buddy. The batch of people who signed up for the military in the wake of 9/11, many of them whom I know were very patriotic people. This is just answering the call of a fascist, and doing so because of misinformation and obvious cynical plays at power. These guys are talking about transparent. Oh, we want to be transparent. We're going to show you what's going on in the health industry. We're going to show you what's going on in transparency. I haven't seen the Epstein files nor the faces of the people who are rounding folks up on the street. And I don't need to dox them. I just think it's freaking weird when masked people show up in unmarked cars and take citizens into their cars after slamming them to the ground and then randomly dropping them off somewhere when they realize there's nothing. And then I can't hold these people civilly or criminally liable as easily as I would if they were telling me what they're supposed to tell me. Who are you? Who can I come after when I end up showing you my green card or my passport? Because I don't carry my passport with me. I'm an American citizen. I know my rights. The answer in America to something you perceive as wrong can't be illegal itself. And that is what Trump is going for. I understand that a lot of these problems are very complicated and very difficult. They are. This is a huge nation with a lot going on. But every time Trump is like, the answer's simple, we'll just round you up. Hey, he doesn't want to solve that problem. He wants to brutalize people. He wants to distract from the fact that the economy's in shambles. He just kidnapped the president of Venezuela with no subsequent plan. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize even though he's bombing a bunch of people, and he sucks. That's what he's trying to distract from. And in the meantime, you're locking up Tim Walz after saying that he doesn't go after fraud when we can prove all the fraud he's gone after. They're locking up, they're investigating the person who is investigating the criminals. I think he's also jealous of how hot Jacob Frey is. Jordan?
I mean, they cried, they whined because Trump was just in court and he was ultimately charged with 34 felonies. He never faced any repercussions. The judge essentially let him off the hook because he won the election. And that's all it took for them to be like, well, now it's our turn. And they are casting a wide and thin, ultimately, net with spurious claims about anybody who even speaks out from a position of power. Multiple senators, the governor, now the mayor. Across the board, they're going after anybody who gets in their way. Like you're saying, Brett, you've got a basically masked Gestapo asking people for their papers, citizens. And the DHS secretary is saying, yeah, if you're a citizen, you should carry your proof of citizenship. Are you kidding me? And we see how they're abducting citizens, holding them in some cases for weeks at a time, abusing them, beating them up, who did nothing wrong. You can yell at an ICE agent. I don't know who needs to hear this. You're allowed, and it is protected to yell at an ICE agent. It's not polite, but it's legal. They think that gives them cover to kidnap and assault you and drop you off somewhere else across town. And the right is fine with that. And I mean, Brett, you're invoking patriotism. If you support this, to me, you're just not American. This is antithetical to what we all should understand as the idea of America and what we stand for, purportedly. We certainly haven't lived up to that standard, but we should aspire to. And this pulls us farther from that dream.
Get them. We got to take a break, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that, Jordan.
We'll be back. The social break. Let's get into some of your comments over, starting with TYT.com. Taylor to Renee says, how did I know that Brett would come on here wearing almost the same shirt? Ha ha ha, favorite network ever.
I need to tell you, Jordan, this shirt is it's from high school. It's a medium. I'm not a medium boy anymore.
Oh boy.
There is visible belly button dentage. It's like neoprene. It is rough, my friend.
Yeah. Let's get into some others. Let's go down to Twitch for a second. I saw Brooke Marks say it's time for the bad boys of TYT with a Z. That's us. That's trademarked. Don't forget it. Green New Dealer Dragon says, give us the bad boys of TYT. Noble Mobile reads. That's right. We got it. We got it done. I'm happy to read for that.
Wait, what's Noble Mobile? Wait, is that the one where?
Let me tell you, actually.
Wait a minute.
How much do you spend on your cell phone plan?
$52.
Oh my God. What if I told you I could reduce that by at least $2? Put the graphic up.
But I was looking to reduce it by, say, 4%.
Yeah, I'm in the market for a new plan. Let's see. Back on TYT.com, someone commented with the meme that you love, the Brett Ehrlich at home meme. It says, enough of this news nonsense. I want to hear about Noble Mobile with that godforsaken meme. Rob 3 Chatsworth says Brett makes an important distinction between single payer versus Medicare for all health system. I prefer single payer. Medicare still has integrations with insurance. All right. I Lives in America says, I'm sorry, Jordan, but saying stick and stay is copyright infringement of intellectual property. And yes, we do have another breaking story. The Trump administration is coming after me now for violating IP law.
Oh my God.
Bad day. Art Guy says, I like the idea that Brett really has no idea who Noble Mobile is, and they just stuck footage of him falling in that pool in the ad because it was hilarious.
Forgot about that.
Let's see here. Felicity91 says, best Friday ever, Jordan twice, and John and Brett once. Technically, if you watch TDR, you got John and Brett twice also. All right, we've got...
I don't know if that's 4.
You gonna count down? 3, 2, 1, bye. Welcome back to the Young Turks. I'm Jordan Newell, joined by Brett Ehrlich. And for our final story this hour, we've got an update on the Jasmine Crockett campaign, starting with this.
Should we have listened to the populist message all along? Is that ultimately what would work for them? Yes. It's not going to be Gavin Newsom. And anytime a politician is making it too obviously about themselves, I'm already done.
We're out.
Don't waste your money sending to Jasmine Crockett. Do not do it.
I must agree.
Don't do it. You're going to waste your money. Take it from someone who sent Sarah Gideon like a ton of money in Maine. Like, just don't do it. Don't waste your money.
Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers, who you just saw in that clip, were hammered last week for suggesting people would be wasting their money by donating to Jasmine Crockett, and that Democrats should lean more into populism. Now, a closer examination of her campaign finance records by Notice reveal crypto, private equity, and even conservative billionaire backing. Tech titan and conservative provocateur Mark Andreessen contributed to her. So did Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss of Facebook fame, as did BlackRock's PAC, Lockheed Martin's PAC, 2 cryptocurrency-funded super PACs, and a fleet of other business groups. Other PACs representing defense industry groups, including Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics, also donated to Crockett's House campaigns. Major Republican and Democratic donors have muddled in opposing primaries in recent elections to try to game them in their favor, boosting candidates they perceive as being more vulnerable. But the conservative donors who have supported Crockett, whether by giving directly to her campaigns or by giving to organizations supporting her candidacies, predate her high-stakes Senate run, suggesting a more genuine alignment. Now, Crockett's primary opponent, James Tallarico, responded.
Well, I would urge you all to ask Congresswoman Crockett about those donations. I will just say that I'm proud that we're running a campaign that does not accept corporate PAC money.
Now, according to his team, Tallarico accepted no money from corporate PACs, and 98% of the donations he's received since he launched have been small dollar donations, a maximum of $100. Overall, he's received contributions from donors in all 50 states and 240 of Texas's 254 counties. Now, to go back to the point about her campaign being too focused on herself, Crockett's campaign site, unlike Tallarico's, does not have an issues page. It does, however, offer a lengthy bio about her. And as a refresher, this is how she launched her campaign.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man, oh, man. She's a very low IQ person. Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding. Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Well, are you not inspired? Now, Tallarico has caught heat for a donation in the past. Tallarico has faced questions early on before jumping into the Senate race over donations he's received from a group funded by Miriam Adelson, who is one of President Donald Trump's biggest donors. Tallarico has previously said that he supports legalizing gambling in Texas because it will bring additional tax revenue. So that was in the Texas state legislature, Brett. Crockett's, I think, to me, Miriam Adelson still has a stake in gambling in Vegas. I think she would want to expand that gambling empire. That makes sense. It's not, you can object to it. You can object to the nature of that donation. I think what's really confusing is the proliferation of defense, crypto, and even conservative tech billionaire money flowing into Crockett's House races. But what do you make of this?
Listen, I love this. This is like my favorite. It's like when that guy in Maine had a Nazi tattoo. You're just like, oh crap. You know, you're just like that. I can't even, before I get into like the some politics mean, I'm just like, that is perfect. Like it's so, everyone had hope, and then it was like, buddy has a Nazi tattoo. Like we have a channel called TYT Investigates. It's basically TYT span. We just like show moments from Congress, and I am grateful for both of those candidates in that respect, because just by virtue of the view counts, Crockett higher than Tallarico, like. We all were like, hey, do we have any talented speakers in the Democratic Party? Anyone with a pulse who can like fight palpably in their own style? No, I don't need it. Like Josh Shapiro's fine, but he likes doing an Obama impression. These are two people doing their own thing, and they do it effectively. They are what we in the business call talented politicians. But like, obviously there's gonna be something like this. Now I've heard various people all over the place go like, see that ad, and be like, that was the most powerful ad. In the way that these people like, have you seen Dances with Wolves? It really is it's like they're people who like Dances with Wolves, and they like, like white savior movies. Like they love it. They love the magical aspect of like a savior. Like it's a very like not racist, but it's close approach to like what power looks like. That turn right there, dude. Like as a producer of content, and especially these people I talk to who've produced political ads, down the barrel is the most challenging thing in the world to do. She's the greatest lawyer. She trained a lawyer. She should do that. The hands, bro. Okay, we're a little tight on the shot. When you cross your hands, you actually need to show that your hands are doing it or it looks weird. Like that's what we're seeing. But like, I think if they both get into Congress or they both get into the Senate, great, fine, do it. It's hard to find a politician who doesn't make it about themselves, but I don't even know what to do with it. What's your take? Because you like are more pure-hearted or whatever than me. Like, you're in that part of the business.
I certainly wasn't. I would never have considered myself, and I still don't, an opponent of Crockett's.
Yeah,
I think this is bad, and I think her team should probably explain why they accepted money from Mark Andreessen. I mean, that guy is a very, very active and openly conservative tech billionaire.
So
that's a confusing one. Crypto pervasive throughout the Democratic Party. Not a fan of it, but that's less surprising. The defense contractors, again, a widespread party problem. And when you look at candidates, and this has always been my stance, when you look at candidates and you have one refusing to take that kind of money, and you have one accepting it, and if the one who's refusing to take that money has what I think to be a good platform with robust populist or progressive policies, I'm always leaning in that direction. I'm always going to throw my support behind that candidate. It's the same standard I would have applied. I don't care what what issues or makeup or demographics or whatever could be affecting people's perceptions here. I don't care that this guy's a white guy if he's got the better platform. I wish it wasn't the case.
I prefer him because he's a white guy. Like, that's my team. It's weird if you are able to look past race. Like, what? Like, what am I gonna root for the Bears today? That's another
he's
team.
Joking. He's joking.
I
mean, this is
obvious.
The thing
I hope it's obvious.
I don't know. I mean, after the response that those two podcasters got for saying she's making it too much about herself, she doesn't have an issues page.
She doesn't.
What are you doing? You're running for Senate on what? We don't know. Make that clear. They're saying you're making it too much about yourself, and you're mad. You're mad about that. Why doesn't she release an issues page? How hard is that?
It's insanity. And if anyone knows like political websites, it literally is Jordan, who's like an expert on making successful ones. It's so funny that you're mad. But like, I'm scared her I love the school I went to, so it's not that, but like, I'm scared of the preacher. Like that's the part where I'm like, they're good at hiding stuff. So I think a lot of us, I want them to fight it out. I want them to have all this information come out and hopefully support the other if one loses the primary and then gain a Senate seat in Texas, period. That would be awesome. And I'm glad to have a fighter, and they're both fighters, and I hope they both stay in politics. And I hope what the terrifying thing about their donors never materializes, but as someone from TYT, you know that it kind of, we know that it kind of always materializes at some point.
Yep. Just before we wrap, we saw polling this week. Initially, she had a slight edge. He was lacking in name recognition. He's gotten a ton of national attention over the past couple weeks. He's now leading by, he's up 47 to 38 in an Emerson poll, so we will see. We have a bonus episode. If you're a subscriber, join, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye-bye.